So I hope that you are able to see the slide now.
Yes, sir.
So what we discussed previously, when we looked at the etymology of the word stylistics, we find that there is one thing, that is style, and the style is associated with the manner. The style is also associated with the shape that we are talking about. So then we have seen that when we talk about meaning, then we have two types of meanings. So we have one conceptual meaning, and another one is the stylistic meaning or additive meaning. We have used the term now, and there is a difference between the two. We have seen with the example of like this Hindi word Kamal, then Pankaj, and then Neeraj. So we have seen that conceptual meaning remains same. Like all three, they denote lotus. But when it comes to the stylistic meaning or the additive meaning, we find that in Neeraj, we find that in Pankaj, we have something extra than the conceptual meaning. So we have realized that no two words are same, they can be similar. And why two words are not same? Because we find that some additive meaning is there in each word that is different from the other word, that we have realized. Now when we talk about these two types of meaning, and so it is also a need to understand with this phonological concept that we have, and particularly this phonological concept that we have in auto-segmental phonology or metrical phonology. So you need not to worry about that. I will tell you something very theoretical that you will find it very difficult to understand. That is not the case. I'm just taking this example of phonology in order to make you understand that how this additional layer of additive meaning gets into the word. So for that purpose, I'm taking this example. So we have studied that there are two kinds of meaning, conceptual and stylistic. So we are just making an analogy, a comparison, that these two types of meaning, these two kinds of meaning, they are like two separate layers, a coating that we have. Once we paint a wall, then we do a coating, like one coat and double coat. So when it is double coated, then you find like shine is more. So similarly, we are simply making an analogy, a comparison, that they are like two separate layers of sound system in segmental and supra-segmental. So we have two types of layer. Segment means uh, like CV, and beyond CV is the supra-segmental. So like beyond segment is your, so a sound segment like per is a sound segment, and beyond per, something that is beyond per, that will become supra segment. So we are just moving uh, beyond the segment, beyond the individual sound. So let's assume there is a word like bulu. Bulu is a word, and in some African language, suppose I have taken this data from different languages. So you need not to know that from which language it is, but you need to understand the concept first. So there is a word like bulu, you can see, and in bulu you find like there is one H written and there is one L written. So H is for high and L is for low. So that means like when you say bulu, then this b is high tone, and low is low tone. Bulu, like this. So this type of thing is there, and so we have this bulu. We can say b is a consonant and u is a vowel, and l is a consonant and u is a vowel. So CV pattern we have. You have already studied linguistics, and you know like what is a consonant and what is a vowel. So here you can very easily find out that in bulu, b is consonant, u is vowel, l is consonant, and u is again a vowel. So CV pattern you have. So out of these CV pattern, you have you are giving So this is one layer. CVCV is one layer. So like the conceptual layer, this is one conceptual layer, that CVCV, there is no difference. So similarly, in Pankaj, in Neeraj, or in Lotus, there is one conceptual meaning, there is no difference. But where is the difference? Difference you find in the second layer, in the second coating you find the difference. So here you find like both are CVCV, but what is the different? One CV is high, eh, one CV is getting high tone, and another CV is getting low tone. So this is the difference that you make. Are you with me? Because I heard some sound. So can you hear me? No?
Yes, sir.
Yes, fine.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the thing that we have. Like we have a segment. Like CV is one segment, CV is another segment, and supra segmental. Like beyond segmental, we have one thing is high tone, another one is low tone. So this analogy we are making, that how this stylistic meaning a word gets. After all, we are saying that there is something like a stylistic meaning, we are saying that there is something additive meaning, then how that word gets that layer, that we are trying to understand. So it is similar to a tone a word gets. Like bulu is like CVCV, there is no difference at the, let's say, segmental level, but at supra segmental level there is a difference. Like bu is high and lu is low. These layers are hierarchically organized, so that's why there is a hierarchy, because in the second layer you find like one gets high tone, another one is getting low tone. So there is a field in phonology, the auto-segmental phonology, as proposed by Goldsmith in 1976, and the metrical phonology as developed by Lieberman in 1975 and Lieberman and Prince in 1977, allow for multi-linear and multi-level phonological analysis. So when we have taken this concept, we have taken this concept of layer. So definitely we have borrowed this thing from somewhere. So we are just telling that, okay, how we can justify that words, they are different from each other. But when we talk about synonymy, then at conceptual level, though they are same, but they are also different at stylistic level, because words, they have also some additive meaning in them. So for that purpose we are taking help of this auto segmental phonology and this metrical phonology, because in this figure you can also see like there is a segment and there is a supra segment. So here you segmental level, they look same, there is no difference. CVCV is like a skeleton, but H and L, there is a difference that we have. So even the word metricality, so there is a word like metricality. If you look at metricality and if you try to analyze this word, then you find like though at surface level you do not find much difference. Like uh, metricality, ME, like this is CV, then TRICCV, then CV, then CV, then CV. So this type of structure we have. Like CVCV structure is in majority, but there is one like two consonant clusters are coming in this word metricality if you want to draw the diagram. But we can find that on the word and foot level, S and W, S means strong and W means weak, indicate relative stress. Like, because we know that English is a stress time language, every word is stressed, and we know like if it is a monosyllabic word, then it is stressed on the it gets the primary stress. But there are words where we have primary stress on different syllables. So similarly, we can see here the W indicates weaker prominence and S indicates relative strong prominence. So this is like, again, because I have mentioned this metrical phonology, so I just want to give you what is metrical phonology all about. So that's why I have taken this example in this slide. So the internal structure in the above figure has omitted and is represented by triangles. So like this is the triangle, the thing that you have seen within syllable. So these are different syllables. Like how many syllables this word has? 5 syllables. Metricality. 5 syllables this word has. And when we talk about the foot, then we realize that it has 2 foot. Metricality. Fine. So 2 foot we have, and in 2 foot we have this 5 syllables. So W and S, so within syllable we have W and S. W means weaker syllable and S means strong syllable. Fine. And this weaker and strong thing is like the way they are pronounced. So uh, S and W refer to stronger and weaker degrees of sonorance, not stress, and S corresponds to the syllable nucleus, which is the most sonorant segment in a syllable. In metrical trees, the strongest unit of the word is the one that is dominated by S all the way up to the tree. So if we try to find out that which one will get stress here in these five syllables, then you can see like here it is strong, here it is strong, here it is strong. So that means this syllable K will get metricality. So we will pronounce this word like this. So this is, I am just incidentally I am discussing this metrical phonology because again here we have different layers. Like this is the first layer, CVCV, this is the second layer at syllable level, and then you have a foot that you have. So that way the layers, we take this pattern of layering in stylistics, and particularly when we talk about this stylistic meaning. So that's why incidentally I have discussed this thing. So we have these two types of meaning, and these model place segmental information on one tier, like layer 1, and tonal information on a separate tier, layer 2. A tonal information on a separate tier is like this is the first layer L1, tier 1, and this is tier 2 that you have. So two information, one is like segmental information, that is same, but here the tonal information is different. This gets the high tone, this gets the low tone. And it is again like conforming to the well formatness condition, which states that every unit of one tier, let's say say a vowel, is to be associated with at least one unit of another tier. So like this vowel is associated with this high tone, these two vowels, they are associated with low tone. So we have a concept like toneme here we have. So we have taken a clue from this concept toneme, and we have employed this concept toneme, and what we have done, we have mentioned something that is styleme. So this is like a very careful and very educated borrowing we have done, because we have an analogy, particularly in this generative phonology we have, because we want to show that there are tonal languages, and in tonal languages, beyond segment we have these tones. So where can we mark these tones? So we can mark these tones on different layer. So this is a multilinear and multi-level model of phonology that we have borrowed into stylistics. So how things happen? So in stylistics, wherein stylistic meaning exists as prosodic feature of language exists on a level different from the segmental unit. So what we have seen, that here it is the segment and here it is the tone. So similarly, you can consider this segment as a conceptual meaning, and the tone is the additive meaning, the stylistic meaning that you have. And the term that we are introducing here, that is styleme, that is. So as we postulate tonemes on this level, we can have stylemes as well. And as below word level phonology, one finds prosodic units like syllable and foot, indicating different layers of depth. A styleme can be said to be constituted of linguistically organized different stylistic units. So similarly, we are following that pattern. We are borrowing from you know Hindi well, but still because it is a literary Hindi, so there is a possibility that some words are not understood. So abla means woman. So again, you have a word like sabla. Sabla means like someone who has strength, and abla means someone who does not have a strength. So bal means force, and is a negative prefix. So that's why, like, this representation we have of by the poet in this poem, abla. Abla means like woman, and particularly we are also indicating not only abla means simply aurat. We have aurat because aurat has it's a neutral word, like it does not have additive meaning, it does not have this stylistic meaning associated with that. So very carefully the writer, the poet, is using abla because writer wants to say that women are weak, particularly in these lines. Oh, life of women folk, this is your very story. The milk is in Achal and water in eyes. So again, we will discuss like how in poetry, layer one, layer two, layer three attaches to, or how can you analyze, like once you write a poem, Hindi poem, English poem, or poem in any other language, how you can analyze that particular poem. So here, like, the important thing is like the writer is not using sabla, writer is not using aurat, writer is using abla. Abla, that means like shows like someone who does not have strength. So that is like, oh, life of women folk, this is your very story. The milk is in achal and waters is water in eyes. Now we will try to analyze this thing. So again, this is layer one. This entire thing is layer one. Achal mein hai doodh aur aankhon mein pani. So we are taking the second line. We are not taking into consideration the first line, but we are analyzing this second line. Achal mein hai doodh aur aankhon mein pani. So this is like the layer one. Achal mein hai doodh. So we are just translating achal. So achal is that a piece of cloth through which a woman covers her breast. So achal in is milk and eyes in water. So we are just doing the literal translation. May means may is a post position in Hindi and translated into preposition in. So may here is in. Achal, we are not writing the entire thing, that the cloth through which a woman covers her breast. So we are simply writing here is achal. And he means is, then doodh means milk, or is and, aankhon eyes, and then pani means water. So this is like one layer and one translation that we are doing. So someone who is doing some translation work, that person, this type of thing is also beneficial, that how you can first translate and you get the layer one. But now achal in is milk. So like here we are not talking about the literal meaning that is there. So achal mein hai doodh, so it's like we are talking about mother's breast milk. So this is now the layer 2 attaches to layer 1. So it's no, it's like mother's breast milk, that is achal mein hai doodh, that is the meaning it is getting. Layer 2, that is the additive meaning it's getting. And then pani, so we are not talking about the drinking water, but pani here means tears. Fine. So this is again because we are talking about eyes, and if you have water in eyes, that type of meaning is we are actually talking about tears. So this is the layer 2 it gets. Now if we translate this entire thing, mother's breast milk, then actually we are not talking about the milk. Actually we are also not talking about the breast. Actually we are also not talking about mother actually, but this entire three things, mother's breast milk, it it is translated into motherhood. Aanchal mein hai doodh, so this is translated into motherhood. And aankhon mein pani is translated into suffering. So you can see very carefully that writer wants to express all such things. So like the layer 1 is there, then layer 2 is there, then layer 3 is there. So writer is actually talking about the motherhood, writer is talking about the suffering, and motherhood something very positive thing, something is like very essential for humankind. And then the woman who is doing this noble work, and then there is a suffering, the outcome is suffering. So again, like motherhood something that is very positive and suffering that is negative. So this is an irony here we have. So two things are there connected by a coordinator and then there is an irony. So this irony writer wants to highlight. Abla Jeevan, hi means like, oh, in a sad manner, oh, life of women folk, this is your very story, तुम्हारी यही कहानी. Like in general, writer is talking about the milk is आंचल में है दूध और आंखों में पानी. So here you have seen like how the layers they are associated with a line, and this is actually the work of a stylistician to find out the layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. Fine. So finally you have discovered that there is an irony. Once you have realized the layer 3, and then you have discovered like, okay, there is an irony. So so what do we have? The separate designative meaning of words milk and achal. Fine. On the one hand, and water and ice, L1, gets linked by copulative construction. So this is the construction that we have. And by association, link get transformed into meaning ensemble. Mother's breast milk, that is equal to motherhood, and tears is equal to suffering, respectively. So again, here it is a description that how L1 is transferred or translated into L2, and L2 is translated into L3, and then finally we have an irony, and then everything becomes quite meaningful. Motherhood being the most positive value, we all know the importance of mother in our life, and suffering as the most negative value. We also have this concept of suffering, because there is a saying like, human beings generally they do not learn from their experiences, but they learn from their suffering. So once you have a suffering, then the suffering is your best teacher. But if you have an experience, then there is a possibility that you may learn or you may not learn. So suffering is the best teacher if you want to learn a lesson of life. So motherhood being the most positive value and suffering as the most negative value of humanity are juxtaposed. That means side by side they are, by the coordination end. So they are kept side by side and they are juxtaposed by coordination end. When placed in context of the prior sentence, so prior sentence is अबला जीवन हाय तुम्हारी यही कहानी आंचल में है दूध और आंखों में पानी. These two values get associated to generate a tonal meaning. And what is that tonal meaning here? Of irony. So that is to say, a women's section of our society, which has such a noble trait of motherhood, has been made to suffer all along her history. So we are not taking one specific example that that particular woman is a successful woman or that particular woman is a very happy woman, but we are just doing uh, a diachronic history, and we are looking at the different periods, across cultures, across different countries. And particularly when we see, then we find that in our society, which has such a noble trait of motherhood for women section, and then she has been made to suffer all along her history. So this is like the meaning. This is the meaning that is actually associated with these two lines. At surface level, it looks like very simple lines. Abla जीवन hai, तुम्हारी यही कहानी आंचल में है दूध और आंखों में पानी. But when we do this type of analysis, when we associate our stylistic knowledge to these lines, then we will have this richer meaning associated with that. So there is an expression like style is meaning. So what does it mean? That if you have this stylistic knowledge, then automatically you will discover more meaningfulness. So the expression suggests that a stylistically uttered expression does add something more to the conceptual meaning. So that is the fact that we have, that something that is stylistically uttered. So that is to say, a writer is saying something, then obviously it is not a conceptual thing writer is saying, because writer is not writing an instructional book, but writer is creating literature, writer is writing literature. So irrespective of the fact, whether you are reading European writers, American writers, Canadian writers, or any other writers, or Indian writers, you will find that those writers, they are well versed in this technique. So they know how to associate stylistic meaning to their expressions. Now as a student, as a disciplined students, now it's your duty to find out the meanings that are associated with that, because most of the time you will get to know only the conceptual meaning, but you will not get to know the stylistic meaning or additive meaning that is associated with that. But with the knowledge of stylistics, you will get to know these meanings, so you will discover more meaningfulness, you will discover more layers of meaning. This additive meaning has some function to perform. So we know that because of this additive meaning, we will get extra meaning, because uh, because of this additive meaning, we know that there is a difference between the word like Pankaj, there is a difference between the word like Pankaj and Neeraj, and there is a difference between the word like Neeraj and Pankaj. So that is because of this additive meaning. It has some function to perform. This is not merely an extension or intention of conceptual meaning. So these two concepts you studied in your first semester when you were studying introduction to linguistics. There in semantics we studies extension and intention. So we are saying that this is not merely, additive meaning is not merely an extension or intention of conceptual meaning, as we do commonly understand by the use of adjectives. So extension of something, intention of something. So generally in stylistics we divide meaning into two part. Intention, for example, there is a word like ship. Now, if I ask like how to define ship, you will say ship is a vehicle for convenience of water, convenience of water. So if I say how to define a dog, then you will say a dog is a four-legged canine animal. So that is the intention. But when I say like types of dog, the extension will be Alsatian dog, fine, Pomeranian dog, bulldog. They will become the extensions. Similarly, with ship, you can have a cargo ships, you can have passenger ships, you can have battle ships, you can have sailing ships. So you have different type of extension that is there. But if I ask like what is common in all these type of ships, cargo ships, passenger ships, battle ships, and sailing ships, you will say they are a vehicle for conveyance on water. So that is the common meaning, and that common meaning is generally known as intention. So what we are saying, that additive meaning has some function to perform. So they are, additive meaning is not equal to extension or intention that we are saying. So there is one view associated with stylistic meaning asserted by Ellis in his in his paper Linguistics, Literature, and the Concept of Style. And what Ellis said, uh, he is actually baffled. He is actually baffled by the fact that though the change of meaning between very big and enormous, so we have these two words, and something that is very big, we call it enormous. So we have these two type of expressions. We can say like the ship is very big, that is also fine, and we can also say the ship is enormous, that we can also say, or an enormous ship, that we can also say, or a very big ship, that we can also say. So he is actually baffled by the fact that though the change of meaning between very big and enormous is just as much the change as between big and very big. So like you have two types of expression, very big and enormous, that is one type. Second type is big and very big. So we know the use of very, that means like we are big, very big, fine, that type of thing we do. Beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful, likewise. So we know like we, very big is bigger than the big. We know. So what an enormous is just as much the change as between big and very big. In practice, one is placed under stylistic meaning while the other under formal meaning. So what he is saying, that when we say very big in place of big, then it is actually a formal meaning. And when we say enormous in place of very big, then it is stylistic meaning. That is his view. There is a problem in his view that we will also discuss, but this is the concept he is giving. He is giving that if you use enormous in place of very big, then it is, you are adding stylistic meaning. And if you say very big in place of big, then you are only going to give a formal meaning, that is Alice views. So here we will analyze what he wants to say, where an extra word is used to differentiate two expressions. Extra word like big and very. So very is an extra word. You are adding very to big. That's the only thing you are doing. So what Alice states, where an extra word is used to differentiate two expressions, we tend in ordinary discourse to say that meaning has been added, while an expression is replaced by another. So like you are not saying very big, but you are replacing the expression that is with enormous, then then there is a difference. An entirely parallel change of meaning tends to be called style. So here he is saying that there is a word like big, or there is a word like beautiful, and if you say more beautiful, fine. So that is like beautiful, more beautiful, that is simply the formal change, formal meaning you are associating. But if you say beautiful and if you say gorgeous, fine, so like you are replacing beautiful with gorgeous, fine. So that type of thing is style. The word formal is one that has the recognizable meaning, but when its area of meaning is absorbed into another word and is used to differentiate that word from another which is closely related, the differentiation is commonly termed stylistic. So the same thing is like when you totally replace the word, then it is stylistic, and once you simply add something extra to that existing word, then it is formal meaning. This is the concept Alice is making, but there is a problem in this concept that we will also see. So what is the problem? The problem is Alice does not find any theoretical reason. Like what is the theoretical reason? Like what is, why is it so? Like once you are substituting one word with another, let's say in place of saying beautiful, you are saying, in place of saying more beautiful, you are saying gorgeous. Fine. Or in place of saying very big, you are saying enormous. So you are simply substituting the entire word, and you are saying like when you substitute the entire word, then it will become stylistic, and once you simply add something to the existing word, then it is formal. But what is the reason behind this? So Alice does not find any theoretical reason for the different description of these two cases. So there is no reason associated with it. This is because he holds the view that all meanings which are additive in nature can be labeled as stylistics meaning. So here the problem is like by default, Alice is considering that stylistic meaning is actually an additive. So that means like Pankaj, Neeraj, and Kamal we have, and Kamal is simply lotus. And when we say Pankaj, then lotus and born in mud. And when we say Neeraj, then lotus and born in water. And we are simply considering additive meaning is equal to stylistic meaning. But here there is a problem. So this is true that the additional meaning comes into existence by the choice exercised by the speakers. We are all competent speakers of a language, and we know that there are different expression, different words that we can use. There are different synonyms for the same word that we can also use, and we exercise this knowledge by choice, and we have different options made available by the language that is also there. So certain options are lexical options, certain options are structural options. But this thing alone, that we have options, we can make choice, is is not it does not qualify the additive meaning as stylistic meaning. So this is the problem that we have, the problem in the views expressed by Alice that we have. So I stop here, and if you have any doubt what we have discussed, you can raise your doubt. I'll be happy to answer to your queries and doubts. If you have any, you can raise your doubt.